that recording? Do you see any recording? Oh yeah, here we go. Right, so we're off and running. So 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥, pronounce your name because it's not easy for me to say.
𝗬𝗢�𝗥𝗏.
𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥. Right, okay. So our 14th guest you are. So every Friday, so just a recap for actually for yourself, because everyone else is pretty much a regular. So this is a Friday event, Friday show. It's every Friday. We had a 3-week break for the summer. Every Friday at 2 p.m. Central European time, so for 1 hour. And it's all about helping people within 𝗪𝗪𝗧, business owners within 𝗪𝗪𝗧, have some visibility and to interact with an audience. So it's great fun because you get to know a lot of people. If you become a regular, then there's a lot of good chit chat and kind of you see people on other events, and it's nice to see familiar faces. So we'll start off. Normally Johan is on, so Johan is the 𝗪𝗪𝗧 platform owner, and he's typically on as well. So he would normally ask questions around 𝗪𝗪𝗧, how you came on 𝗪𝗪𝗧, any challenges that you face there, what you want to get out of that, and it's about the communities and helping one another. Unfortunately, he's tied up with some other things that have come up, and if he can join, he'll jump on as well. So, and also Ida typically jumps on, so she is administration assistant for 𝗪𝗪𝗧 as well. So if you've got any questions about 𝗪𝗪𝗧, they do have a Q&A every week, or you can reach out to them. So it's about setting up your profile and stuff like that, because it is slightly different to other networks. So sometimes you need a little bit of navigation. Hi.
Hey guys.
Hi.
All right, so we're just starting now. So
good. I'm not the lone woman anymore.
No, we've had it actually where it's been.
Thank goodness.
Leona. Leonor. Leona. I'm thinking of
Who's Leona?
It's a singer, and I keep thinking of. But anyway, maybe you could say where you're from, because we just announced where people are from. So.
Me or Leona?
Yeah, Leonor.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Leo. It's easier to call me Leo because then you don't call me Leona. I'm originally from Portugal, but I live in London it's been over 5 years now.
Right. So most people are actually very international and not necessarily living in the country of origin. So without further ado, I'm going to ask you, 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥𝗏, about you before we go into your business or businesses. I'm going to ask about you. So tell me a little bit about you, your background, and where you're from, where you're living at the moment, if you're still living in your country of origin, and yeah, just so we can get a feel of who you are first.
I guess everybody's wondering, how do you become a futurist and what is that? And I had no idea I was going to be a futurist when I grew up. But I studied economics, politics and society in the UK for 5 years. I studied an MPhil at Oxford University, St. Anthony College. And there I actually wrote my thesis on the principle of subsidiarity. And I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's making decisions as close to the public as possible. It's a legal, economic, political principle. And that brought me to the European Commission. And that had been taken over by, there was an office there, Forward Studies Unit, and it used to be run by Delors, but a very strong vision of European integration. And when I came there, I had a new boss. He was called Santerre. He was the new Commission president. And he said, oh, we can't say anything about where European integration should go, but we can make future scenarios and give them a futurist mindset, helping them to envisage different futures, and then they can make better informed decisions. So that was my very first job, bringing me in that direction. And so we wrote this report, and that was back in '96, called Europe 2010. And in one of the scenarios, we predicted Brexit. And now finally it's happening. But the idea, of course, already back then was that we could see a lot of the signs that this was going to happen, because the Britain was a lot in it for the money, and they were like, why should we be on the same team as the Germans, the losers of the Second World War? We have our global outlook, our colonies. So already then we made a scenario trying to inspire the member states and say, hey, we need to create some kind of European identity, or they might leave. So that's, I think, is a good example for you guys as well, to how to use future studies. It's not to lean back and then say, finally in 2020 I was right. It's really to inspire to do something in the now. Look at some of the dangers, the developments. In one of the other scenarios was very much about refugees. It was actually that we would start shooting down refugees on the beaches of Europe. That unfortunately hasn't happened yet, but we have still created islands, and we have created some quite harsh corridors. So you can see some of these things. So my job really was to ask the member states on their visions. And that's the other thing about future studies. It's something you create together. The more people who look at it, the more people who look at society, the better. And that's why I joined this community as well, because I all the time look to enlarge my network with people who have different perspective and who have different outlooks and different ways of seeing how the future is unfolding.
Okay.
So
you're actually in the right place, because there's a lot of people that doing things to do with sustainability, circular economy, and
exactly.
kind of a different way of working. So this is a breeding place for entrepreneurship. But before we delve too much into your business, tell us a bit about you.
I know. But then I went to Copenhagen and I went to the beach. I found my husband there, and he was studying to become a doctor. And I thought, that's a great profession, because then I can travel all around the world. But no. So I had 4 kids with him. And when you want to be a doctor in Denmark, you need to stay in the hospital in order to get promoted. They don't give you credit for seeing the world and having other experiences, even though you're within anesthetics, and you could think it would be good to go to a war zone or something. But anyway, that got me stuck, and especially after we got divorced, I was stuck because you get your children every second week, so you better hang around for that. Since then I've been, I lived in Brussels for a few years, and then I worked for IKEA in Sweden for 2 years, but that was commuting, also working with scenarios. I've been working at the Copenhagen Institute for Future Studies for 8 years, 2 years at IKEA. And then I had, since 2003, I had Future Navigator. I created that business myself. Before that, I was with Fahrenheit 212 with Saatchi, trying to create an innovation company within that advertising industry, so that when people came and they wanted to have new branding, you could actually tell them, hey, your product is so last year. Maybe you should look into the future instead. After that, I started my own business and working with public and private enterprises. And I'm not supposed to talk about myself. I'm supposed to talk about my children and my life. Anyway, I live in Copenhagen, and what else can I say? What do you want to know, James?
Okay, so you're Danish. You're born in Denmark.
Yeah.
But you've traveled.
And I'm back.
And now you're back. And you've got 4 kids.
I still travel. I mean, I've just been to Bali to experience the Green School, a different sustainable way of making schools. They're building one in Australia as well, and in Canada, I believe, which is cool. So I do try to travel out to research and get new inspiration. I've been to New Zealand working on the future of mobility, but it is harder when you have children to get away.
Yeah, and I guess with the traveling now, it's been kind of restricted with air travel to go to these places.
Exactly. I mean, this year I managed to go to Bali in February, but then I was supposed to go to Colombia, Medellin, and supposed to go to London. I was supposed to go to Italy for a big mobility conference, and all that died.
Well, so really global. I mean, yeah, kind of every corner of the world.
I used to. Now it's more online. So I actually did the London gig, and then some people were on from New York, from Brussels, so in a sense, it got me further out than it would have had I actually only been physically present in London. But I don't know if it will pay off in the long run to widen my circles like that.
So you mentioned these kind of other jobs before that you had. I'm curious about the kind of the IKEA one, because funny enough, we're going to IKEA tonight shopping. I was just thinking, yeah. Are you responsible for anything that we would know about? Or?
Yes, the Just Add kit. So for instance, Christmas cakes. You are lost in transitions. You know, how do I make the brown batter for these Christmas cakes? Where do I get the shapes? Then I have to do it, and oh hell, I just buy them. So we have this Just Add children kit. So the batter is already there, the shapes, this music, the thingy. We have the Just Add divorce kit. So you moved away from your wife, and you know you need a starter kit to move away, and so it's Just Add divorce. So we have all these Just Add, and then when we worked with IKEA, we spent a lot of time in normal homes. And I remember on one of the second days with all these designers and people from all over the world, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I said, oh, this is the wolf hour. You don't know about the wolf hour, do you? No. And I realized, hey, that's a Danish thing, because we have all our kids in daycare, and at 5 o'clock they are being picked up, and everybody's howling. They're hungry, blood sugar's running low. Everybody's fighting between 5 and 6. So we call it the wool hour. And this British designer says, oh, that's called tea time. This is when you serve tea. And I said, this is not happening any longer. This is a vision of the past, you know. So the fact that they actually serve these food close to the checkout is part of this as well, that you should get something for this wolf hour, so you're not going low on sugar while you do your shopping, because that's going to be a nasty, evil circle all around.
Yeah, excellent. We always go, and I used to see how many hot dogs you could buy, because there were only kind of 1 franc.
I know, it's so disgusting.
It was, but you can get a lot of hot dogs.
I know. Go and eat in IKEA. Yeah.
Actually,
Swedish meatballs.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Mashed potatoes.
Yeah. We always try it. The kids always want the ice cream afterwards.
The other thing we did was a hugging pillow. So people, more and more people live by themselves, 40%.
Oh, yeah.
So a pillow actually created like a t-shirt, like the top body, and you could sleep with it at night.
So you did a lot then.
Well, we did do it. We did the conceptualization, the scenarios. We did a whole scenario process for the future of the bedroom, because they wanted to put all kinds of stuff in there. So that was in one scenario, this multi-purpose cubic living, it was called. And the other one is really mindful living. Actually, your bedroom shouldn't have anything. You should go offline and you should meditate and you should stay. But that's really hard for IKEA to make that choice, because at the same time, they want to sell a lot of stuff. So that's a typical frustration there, right?
Yeah, I guess you also need a feng shui bedroom.
Exactly.
So you're looking at the right places and stuff. But anyway, we digress a bit. So just taking you back kind of maybe on your journey before you got into this, when kind of did you have aspirations or whatever about future predictions and innovation and stuff like that? Was it more as a child growing up? Was it always there, or did it develop through an education or an event or something that happened?
I think my studies, of course, doing social sciences, which is a combination of sociology, political science, finding out how the world brings together. But going further back, my grandfather, he was investigator in the police, and have always liked to solve riddles. I love solving riddles, and I love giving other people riddles. And I think that's very much what future studies is about. It's like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then what's going to happen? So one part is science, and the other part is, you know, reflecting and wondering how are we going to react, and what are we going to do, and what happens when people work from home? Who is it going to benefit? It's going to be fathers spending more time with their children, or is it going to be the mothers who are going to get an even higher burden, depending on what country you're in? But that kind of reflection, that really, I think it's so exciting. And then to follow, of course, more science all the time to find out what's going to happen.
So you must like Sherlock Holmes movies.
I love it. I love that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Small
because there's kind of
hints.
riddles in there as well.
Yeah,
That you have to
yeah,
solve.
yeah.
Yeah. So, and then, so you studied kind of this at school, but when you went into kind of the corporate world or the business world, where did you start that you wanted to apply this, or didn't you at the beginning? And it wasn't until later that you found that there was kind of something missing that you needed to focus.
To be honest, to begin with, I was very humble. I was just happy to get a job, and I was thinking future studies is great because it goes across different business boundaries, and it's a great way for me to have a different taste of different businesses. And all the time I came back and thought, thank goodness I'm not working here every day. Then as time has passed, things have changed. So when I started out as a futurist, we did a book called The Dream Society. You might have heard about it, about storytelling. Anyway, that was a big thing there in 92. It was a bestseller, going global. Then it suddenly it became more and more democratized. So when I started, we were afraid that the audience would ask us questions that we didn't know. So we always escaped from people in the breaks. And these days it's all about crowd creation. And I think the other game changer, which has made it extremely from nice to have to need to have being a futurist, is that the traditional jobs are disappearing, and a lot of people go into fear and anxiety also with this corona because they miss the capability to look ahead and say, hey, what a playground we have out there. There's so many interesting things to do. This is missing, that is missing. I just talked about the environment, refugees. There's so many things to deal with out there. Yes, it might not be called this and that profession yet, but we can go out and we can create that sort of value. The business is needing that. So I think all about, instead of fitting into a box, answering the question, it's about posing the best question and creating the value yourself because it's missing out there. And again, transcending traditional business borders, focusing much more on the why, what is necessary. And then I talk about that everybody in the whole world is working for Future Navigator. They just don't know yet. They haven't been called, you know, and then I can bring people into the game. And I think it's that part of future studies, I would, that's my whole reason of working, is that I wish to democratize future studies to the world before I die, because I think we are right now standing at a point in time where a group of people is getting increasingly passive. They're binging stuff. They're being overwhelmed by the media. They're being scared. They're being pacified. They hear, oh, you can go on a citizen income, universal income, and robots are taking over. Artificial intelligence will tell you what to do. And on the other part, you have these very active generation moving up now, making TikToks, making YouTube videos, saying, no, I'm not going to take that traditional university curricula. I'm going to put it together myself. I'm going to create the world. We have to decide what sort of world we want to be in. And that's a force that I want to underpin and help the most I can with having this futurist mindset.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely about mindset shift, because, I mean, we've seen it as we've been growing up as well. I mean, as kids and then into adolescence and stuff, there's things that were kind of taboo. You don't go there, you don't do that. But then they become more acceptable and becoming more the norm. I mean, you'd never think of a guy that would stay at home and look after the kids and the wife going to work. Oh, no, that doesn't happen. It's the man has to be the breadwinner, and the woman stays at home to do the woman chores. And when you saw someone doing that, you thought they're kind of the odd one. But now it is kind of the norm. I mean, in certain
depending
countries,
on the country.
Exactly, in certain countries.
Yeah.
So we are becoming more open-minded and more free-willed in that respect. But I mean, it also goes back to the educational system as well, which is very much based on academical skills rather than kind of emotional intelligences and other things. So because we want, I mean, you talked about people have to think outside the box and think about things that maybe are a natural ability that they've never harnessed because they didn't know how to. So, and then for the ones that are more free-minded and free-willed, they have done that. And then it's about embracing that, and kind of there are pockets of different movements of people doing things. It's kind of bringing those together and uniting in the way that we tackle the differences in other countries. So just going, because you do go to many different countries and you get involved in many different things, how do you actually achieve that in a way? Do you approach governments or organizations or companies and then position yourself? And how difficult is it to do that, particularly when you're talking about future predictions and stuff?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been so fortunate that I've been working on projects and then word of mouth. So I've never actually sold myself anywhere. I'm like, sometimes when somebody calls me in a little state of India, it was because I did a piece of work in Estonia, and I don't know. And I think I've been a slave of that as well, because now where I realize time will run out eventually for me anyway. And if I really want to democratize future studies before I die, I have to go into the driver's seat instead of just picking up the phone. But that has been, in a sense, I guess my golden cage, if you can say so, just going for whoever called for me, because it's easier and it's simple, and I had my children to take care of as well, so I needed the whole work-life balance going. But now I'm actually working really hard to create an online course in how to be a futurist. I'm trying to scale my training sessions. I'm still not there where I call governments and stuff. They have been calling on me. And
Okay. So,
I think it's because people are so busy and everybody's so noisy and everybody's shouting and delivering stuff. It's really, really hard to get through. So yeah, I'm lazy.
No, you're not lazy, because I mean what you've achieved, and particularly we'll come on to the book in a minute. Edmund, you had a question?
Yeah, 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥, I have you just mentioned something that I really wish I stood next to someone like you between 35 and 38 years ago. Because little that you know, or now you will know, that thing in Denmark they call for 𝗬𝗘𝗔𝗥, basically online shopping, and somebody gonna take it to your doorstep. That particular person who came up with the idea in Denmark happened to be me.
Really?
And the bank in those days kept on telling me about the computer and the internet, what's going to happen. Internet wasn't invented by then, but this will happen, that will happen, this will happen, that will happen. And by the time I spoke, I was called in by Denmark, which I never had a loan from the Danish bank to build up my little funky business at the time. I had 5 delivery vans and I had like 5 guys working for me. Talking about future, but I'm not going to sort of like take over your speech, but you hit on a chord that really sort of like, yeah, but we can talk about it later. So thank you for your time. Let's carry on.
Yeah, as I said, these are great for networking. So I mean, you can kind of take this offline and connect and have these discussions. And if anyone else kind of wants to join in, maybe you could have a whole new discussion on things like that. Because I know with Alvin as well, it's doing something that's quite revolutionary as well. So there are a number of
maybe you don't know how to work as a futurist, and I might give you a few principles of that. Would that be nice? Because
absolutely,
you said about sustainability, but I think at least how we work with future studies at Future Navigator, it's to stay neutral, curious, open-minded. Not to say whether it's good or bad. We just say interesting, exciting. And that's really important. And especially if things are frustrating or difficult. So a lot of people, for instance, they get frustrated about Trump. My futurist approach is interesting, exciting. You know, he has challenged the communication channels. He's using Twitter. So that's the first principle.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Just to jump in. Did you predict he'd be president again?
No, but you could, I don't predict he's being president again, because I think, well, that said, Biden might die tomorrow. He's so old as well, Sleepy Joe. So we have some biology kicking in there as well. But I think what we can be missing again is the clear channel that he has to his supporters, which is not being infected by anybody else, because we live in these echo chambers. Yeah. I'm just saying, if you don't look at him, if you just say he's a pain in the bum and he's full of fake news, then you miss out on the whole trend underlying his success, which is that businesses communicate directly with their followers, that we don't have to have these middle people in between. And then you forget to ask yourself, so what is the next political movement being about? Will that be from gamers who are creating simulations that we have to get into? So that's my first principle of being a futurist. It's really to be open. So I never say good or bad. I leave that to decision makers. So I take people into that room. And the second thing is that you have to taste the future. You have to go to bed for the future. You have to try it out. You can't read business books or The Economist and then you think you know. So you have to experiment with bits and pieces. So Sweden, that didn't lock down for Corona, I went there to see how are they semi-opening, how are they going about living their open life in a secure manner, to get inspiration for what will other countries do. I have sat down and done a lot of experiments with deep fake with my face and videos, just to see what works and what didn't work. So for instance, I found out that I can film myself in the afternoon, like now, where I have nice hair. And I can use that movie in the morning when I have morning meetings. So Lisa looks really nice when she's speaking to people, instead of having my morning face on. And I would never discover that if I just read about deepfake and how it's ruining politics, for instance. So the interesting, exciting, the going to bed with the future is really important. Elon Musk will come out here on the 28th of August with this brain implant chip, which will, when you think about something, you will get a Google answer. And here I'm a little, I'm not sure I'll be the first one to put that inside my head. But I will be maybe not the first mover, but second mover. I try to do it as much as I can in order to find out, to say interesting, exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
sorry, go on, Alvin.
No, I have a lot of questions, but about the brain implant, would you really, even like second generation, would you? Wow.
I mean, I don't know. I'm not using a lot of pharma and things like that. But I did try mushrooms, for instance. I tried microdosing with mushrooms because I can see it's a huge trend that people are taking this ayahuasca, and they say they that the whole reason that we have moved as a civilization was because of these hunter-gatherer found that mushroom in the forest. And I'm like, okay, so now it's moving into the psychiatric ward again.
Yeah.
So it's moving into business, it's moving into hospitals. I'm saying, okay, so I'll try.
Yeah.
But there's a difference between.
But I can't do it with everything. But if I can put my hands on it, I go and I experience virtual reality. I don't talk about what gamers do. I have to try and game myself. You could see the difference. I don't just read about people going on a silent retreat. I sit down and I shut up for 3 days. Not because I then know everything about it, but it gives you more layers than just reading about the top 10 megatrends. I'm just trying to give you some more feel of what it takes to be a futurist.
I consider myself as a bit of a futurist there, because I predict that this interview or this event is going to be very good, and people are going to want to follow up with you and want to learn more. So I'm predicting that, because I want to know more actually already. So I mean, when you talk about the future and implants and things like that, I mean, there's always been talk about, I mean, with this part of the hand here, to put a chip inside there so you can actually monitor people. And it can be sold on the premise that, oh yeah, it's a good thing because we can track you and see who you came in contact with if you had the coronavirus or something like that. So to try and sell it as something that you must have because it's good for you, rather than, oh, it's really Big Brother watching you. So do you predict, I mean, you talk about stuff in the brain and stuff, do you think something like that is going to come, or do you think there'll be so much pushback that people will never want to accept it?
It is coming. I mean, if you look at the Boeing in the sky, it has a digital twin. So if you are a flight controller, you can actually see exactly, there's some of the engines that are about to be worn out. Should this be changed or that be changed? And you can, at any point in time, really follow the Boeing in the sky. Likewise, it's completely crazy that people do not have this digital twin. I think it's coming now when business say that people can work 40% from home. When we want to monitor health, and health is becoming Apple-fied or Google-fied, then we are selling our privacy, and you can, with cameras, you can already there detect a lot of diseases and a lot of just movements in your face. You already now have an insurance company where you just speak in the screen and you say what has been stolen, and that detectors can see whether you're lying or not, and they pay you out immediately. So there's a lot of stuff going on like that, and we like it because it's convenient. And as I said, laziness is a major driving force. So if it makes it easier for us, it's so hard for us to say, no, I don't want to do that. That said, we are moving into different ethical scenarios. So we have the Chinese one with social points and what you see going on in Hong Kong, where the state is monitoring. You have the American model where it's big commercials who are monitoring. And then you can say we have a more European model where we try to leave the data with people, and you make the data flow anonymous, but you still want to harvest the insights, because it's so stupid if we all walk around and do the same mistake. So when I went to Estonia, it's because they are really ahead. They're scared of being invaded by the Russians. So they put the whole bloody country into the cloud, all health data, everything. If we look at New Zealand, Lucinda, their prime minister, she doesn't want to measure on economic growth alone anymore. She wants to measure on well-being. She's doing a well-being budget. And by measuring how people are faring, she found out, well, the psychological well-being is the most important investment, because then you get a boyfriend, then you get a house, then you get an education, then you get a job. So instead of looking at it as an expense, you should look at it as... So things are changing due to these data flows. We have a kind of digital Boeing around people now. So you will do a lot of stuff for yourself, but you will also be linked up to a global neural network where we find out. And right now, as we speak, we are sharing information all around the world on how to combat corona, how to find the new vaccine, how to do this and the other. At least researchers are. And then at the political level, everything is splitting up.
Yeah. So, Edmund, I think you have another question.
I know exactly where 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥 come from. And the reason is talking about all this digital stuff and put a little chip in your finger and all of that. I remember when Denmark launched this particular little card, and 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥 may remember it. Yes.
Got it too.
Basically, when I went as a little schoolboy, we had these cards. They became readily available. And I used to live in an area called 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥 in Denmark. And basically, when you went to the train station, you could put the card in and get on the train. And by the time I came to Copenhagen City, you put the card in. And I remember my first holiday to the Netherlands, where at the airport you put your card in, and when you came back from the Netherlands, at the airport you put your card back in. It's not because Big Brother is watching you. It's just, that was, I would say, the precursor to what we know today as daddy's watching you, which daddy does not, because guess what? This little thing here is now being replaced with this thing here. And this thing here, I mean, like this thing here is, if you really want to think that Big Daddy is watching you, this thing is actually for your own benefit. because everywhere you go, there is not just a trail of where you've been, but it's also a trail of your habits, how we can help you in terms of future thinking. So
I follow James's as well, his worry, because in the wrong hands that can be abused.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
If you, for instance, the next thing that is coming, which I'm looking very much into, I just did a documentary with a Dutch TV crew. I think it's coming out in February. Anyway, when I think about something, it sends brain waves, and you can actually recognize now brain waves to the extent that what I'm thinking at can come out as a text message. And hey, then it's not really nice to be a homosexual sitting in Russia, you know, and try to think that you cannot think about it. It's really, really hard. So in that sense, our last area of privacy. So I think you have to think really, really careful on where to live these days, because you need to be somewhere where they have proper civil rights and where they respect you. And even in countries like Denmark, we are being encroached due to Corona. They have made special rules. We are allowed to imprison you if you're not living up to whatever. Yeah. Exactly.
So Alvin, you're on mute. But before you go, Alvin, I'm just going to say something before I forget. I always think of kind of the sci-fi movies like The Matrix and things like that. And the fact that, sometimes I want to be human and I want to forget about technology. I just want to be the natural feeling of being a human, to appreciate the earth and what we have. And to be tracked and have all of this data about me, what I'm looking at on TV, on Facebook, and everything else, and everyone knows my every movement. Do I really? Is that the world I want to live in? Now, there's always like, can it be used for my benefit? For sure. So there's kind of the light side, and I'm thinking of kind of Star Wars now, and then there's the dark side, and there's always going to be people that use it for the dark side. So to manipulate people, to mass control and everything else. And you mentioned about silicon chip, a chip in the head. It always makes me think of the song. I don't know if you know, because it's quite a while ago, by the Boomtown Rats, and in the 80s. And it was Bob Geldof singing a silicon chip inside my head was switched to overload. I mean, it's about, I don't like Mondays. You should listen to it, because
I have to find it. What is it called?
It's called I Don't Like Mondays. I want you the whole day down. I mean, maybe if someone as old as me, you'll know that song, but it's the Boomtown Rats. And fantastic, because it always makes me think about, we have effectively like a silicon chip or something inside of us, and there's always a trigger point. You could be, it reminds me of Falling Down, the movie as well, where the guy's sitting on the highway and it's a hot day, his air conditioner stopped working, and he's stuck in traffic.
I know it. But that's not my job as a futurist. I'm saying interesting, exciting, and I'm trying to get the decision makers to make the decisions you're doing right now, James. And I think I get more out of opening the windows for them, and then they decide where to take their plane.
To jump.
To jump. But that's, I think, so I think it's really, really important to make these ethical decisions. But I'm not the one guiding people to go either, or I'm really just trying to be an eye-opener, try to look at the perspectives, the scenarios, and then hopefully they make better decisions.
Okay, so I want to come on to your book now.
Yeah, right. Could we do the game first? Because that's really something I want to have help with.
Anyway, this is something not new to you, because I just looked at your profile. You've been doing future navigator stuff for the last 18 years. So it's not like...
I've done it my whole working life. I've been working as a futurist. But sometimes I do stuff which is not futuristic work, but the world needs it. And this board game 𝗬𝗢𝗨𝗥, which you see behind me, the gray one, I did that because when I started innovation projects in businesses, people working from different departments, having different priorities, they hated each other and they thought the other people were stupid idiots lesser versions than themselves. And I started creating this typical so that people could train their empathy muscle. And I actually started this 15 years ago when innovation was really high and everybody were doing these innovation lean projects. And then it came out in the shops in Denmark in November, and it's been a big family success. It's a board game for families or families that are brought together or 12 years and plus. But basically you take a type and then you have to do a challenge, either say who would be most likely to do this and that, or you have to pretend being this other type. But what it does subtly is that it trains your ability to look at the world from different viewpoints. And I think one of the hidden ingredients in creating this future, especially solving the environmental troubles, is that you can bring the different disciplines together around the table. And they don't do that now. They live in their own silos and they talk about the problems that they have created, but they are not capable of creating alternative, attractive scenarios for citizens to move over to. So that's why I think it's so important. And anyway, I got almost nothing out of producing the game. I just wanted it out there. So I had a Danish distributor. He got it from China, and it sold really well. It sold 4,000. It's nothing in a small country with 5 million people, but it's very good for a board game in Denmark anyway. So, but now I need an international distributor, and I would also like to have the board game maybe created in a more organic way, because the first board game version I had, every type was standing on their own island, and it was supposed to be full of water. And as people got better communicating the types, the water should fall down, and finally you should see that the world is interconnected and we're all standing on the same planet. So that was my lulu, but it's hard to have that mass produced. And so this became the simple version, and I stole a little bit from you probably see UN, this climate goal, or this UN sustainability goal. That's why I thought these boxes would be good. They would resonate. But that could be designed anywhere. But it's a fantastic game, and it makes the world a better place. But it's not my core competence. I am not a board game maker, distributor, or developer. So if you know anybody, I would love to have help with that.
Okay, this is something you should definitely advertise also within 𝗬𝗏𝗏.
How do I do that?
So you can post, you can post an event and talk to people about it.
Okay.
You could also just post what you've got and see if there's anyone out there that could help you. So use 𝗬𝗏𝗏 for that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, because I'm a little stuck. I needed to get out in the world if it's supposed to make a difference. And I'm really willing to find a good business partner and
we can't
shares or whatever,
play it,
because otherwise it's just standing on my shelf, which is really stupid.
But how many people do you typically play with?
6 people, but you could actually play 9 people.
Right.
And right now I'm going to...
You could play online?
We could do that. We could at least do a little session online with each other.
Set one up, right? I mean, as an event.
Yeah.
And then...
That's a good idea.
I'm sure you could find 6 people here in 𝗬𝗏𝗏. I mean, put me in first, so you got 1. And then anyone else that maybe wants to hear, and then you can get your 6, and then
that would be great.
That would help.
But I don't want just anybody to play it, because as I said, it has been sold 4,000 times and it got really good reviews. So what I need is someone to roll the ball. So yeah, but that's fine.
Or we could do something. I'm just thinking aloud now, right? You could do an event. So you've selected the 6 people, but you have it open in a Zoom call like this, and you have an audience watching. Is that possible?
That's possible too. That would be quite fun, because the audience can participate. Actually, we could have endless amounts, because I could just give the thing out, and then I will just
do that then. I mean, if you need some help, we take this offline, and then we'll get that.
That would be cool.
All right, and then we can everyone get to know it. You'll have 6 people participating, and it could be something very entertaining.
It's a great way to getting to know each other as well.
Exactly, and then people that will stimulate. Who are you? And tell me a bit more about you, and then about your book as well. I want to open it up.
Okay, the book is just it's just the book.
It's launched.
It's launched. It came out in July, and it's different futurists from around the world. We all contribute with a chapter, and it's now on Amazon. And it's basically, I have some points where I think some of them are hitting spot on. Some of them I was a little doubtful about as things progressed, but it was really interesting at an early stage to give the predictions of how will this unfold. But one of them was that we would listen more to scientists. They would, in a sense, get back. And then there has been so much noise, so I was starting to wonder if that became right. But I think it's, to some extent, people are fed up now. They actually want to hear from the scientists sitting with the vaccines who have the evidence of what is working and not working. So maybe it's right. And then in our environmental terms, I think the fact that we can see that something that looks really far away and it's not going to hit us, suddenly it hits us. I think we can use that for looking into the environment as well, because then we understand that things that seems fairly abstract and fairly remote suddenly can hit our back door. And then this whole, if you look at all the people who are super spreaders, you find them, you monitor them, you stop them, you isolate them. Imagine if we did that with super polluters instead.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
And then you just said, hey, you have a problem here, you have a problem here, you could just, and then you sort of have control, because for instance, right now in our oceans, all these ships are sailing around in international waters and nobody is at all looking at them. But if we had the same sensation and sense of urgencies around super spreaders, CO2 super spreaders, that could be, well, excellent. Anyway.
So the book is available on where can we find it?
It's on Amazon, and I can give you a copy because I have it as a PDF. I think I have 23 copies. So if people really want to have it, I can provide a link.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, and definitely post it in the event, because there's people that haven't joined that said they were going to. So if
I can't give it endless amount.
No, not for that.
Very
I mean,
unpopular
where they can download or purchase it or whatever.
Yeah. They can purchase it on Amazon.
But share the links for the other people.
Where should I share it?
Yeah, well, so Pete is saying, we're going to open it up in a minute, Pete, so you can actually ask the question yourself.
Okay.
All right, so anyway, because of absence of time, I mean, we got 10 minutes and we could talk all day about this. It's excellent stuff, and I'm sure there's tons of questions and people want to get involved in one way or the other. So I'm not going to ask any more questions now. I'm going to open up to the audience, let them ask, but count me in definitely as one of the 6 for the game, and I can help you facilitate and set that up.
That would be lovely. Thank you so much, James.
And yeah, the book, definitely would like to read that and know more. So anyway, Pete.
Hey, this has been great. I've really enjoyed it, and hopefully I've not been too much of a distraction with driving around, but I want to play the game as well. I'm always fascinated with anything about the future, and I really love the discipline that you've been using, so like to play the game. Also, I don't know if it's worth anything, but I do know some folks at Hasbro, and if the game is something that's interesting, who knows where that could go. So
that would be fantastic. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah, but I first have to play so I can appreciate it.
Exactly.
So you got 2 now. I guess you count yourself as 1, don't you?
No, I'll just moderate the game, I think.
All right, so we got
But
2.
we don't have limitations like that. We can easily play. But I think we can play at 9 people.
Okay, you got
because then we have to be able to see each other, right? And we can be 9 on Zoom, so that would be fine.
Well, we could. Yeah, you can have up to 100 or so on Zoom. So
I know, but it would be good that we see each other's face expression. And actually, I'm really worried about this because this is supposed to be a face-to-face game where you read each other. But
maybe we do it kind of like with 9 like this because it fills the screen quite nicely.
I think that'd be lovely, and we could record it.
Yeah,
and then we have that. That would be wonderful. I'm already so happy. This is such a great weekend gift.
All right, so Edmund.
My question is, 𝗬😓🗧, how long is the duration of this game? I have a reason for this question.
45 minutes to 1 hour, but I usually spend a little bit of time speaking about it as a futurist, about listening louder, the fact that we already have the answers out there, but that we just have to train our muscle to find them.
That makes sort of sense. Living in a little island where I live, I know the management and the owner of Blue Island.
Oh.
And once I have seen how this game runs, I would like to approach him and say, like, people who fly from Channel Island, Jersey to London or Gatwick, what about put this thing on your aircraft so that people can actually play the game whilst they're flying across?
But there is a board and you actually move around, but maybe we can make a more compact version once we have worked with it.
The seats on the aircraft, they carry a television in it.
Okay. Oh yeah, that you could do.
Yeah. So
but now we are digitalizing something that I wanted to be face-to-face, but there you go. The whole point was that people should learn body language and read each other, because people are spending enough FaceTime screen time as it is. So my whole thing around this was actually that you should see also the subtle body language signs and so forth.
But in the absence of that,
no, I'm just saying, as a futurist, interesting, exciting. Yeah. Thank you.
But anyway, Alvin, I stopped you asking your question earlier. So did you still have it?
It's more of, I'm still baffled that you would put a second generation while knowing that about the risk of hacking. But you don't have to do it, Alvin.
You can put it on like a, calotte, like a Jewish calotte, almost like a little hat. So you don't have to put it inside your brain anymore. So that's why it's not dangerous. You can take it off again.
Okay, but seeing the time, I was also more wondering about, I designed a company where, like, for example, in the statutes, we will put that I will receive, not mine, but heirs will receive shares in 1001 year, over a 1001 year after start. So as a futurist, I wonder, how far would you yourself like to see, or you yourself see in the future? And also, do you have a own opinion, or like, can you say you're positive about that, or like a negative, or?
I don't say I'm positive or negative, but I do pose questions. The most far ahead I did is actually, I have been putting in a question for a space capsule, which is going to circle for 1,000 years and then come back. And there I asked people, so how does it feel to live indefinite? Because I think that's going to be possible by the time, if we live long enough, of course. Yeah. And so I'm asking them, so do you appreciate life, or how does it feel?
I'm going back to the future.
Exactly.
So how do you see then society, for example, in 1,000 years? Like, for why I did it, at least how I see it, is not on a micro level. So I don't presume to see what's going to happen in 1,000 years, but just on a like macro level, meta level, I believe that the world we will have will not be destroyed by wars, and we will come together and do great things together. And in there, for example, that we will have transgenerational global organizations, or more importantly, transgenerational global for-profit organizations. What at this moment we don't have, something that will.
I think that's a great vision, and I think what we need is these sustainable visions of how we could create the future. And that's exactly what I try to inspire decision makers, but they have to make the decision. They have to design and they have to decide. Because if I start saying we have to go this way or we have to go that way, then I do exactly like everybody else, shouting in each other's face. So I really try to stay neutral. That said, I've been making an article in Fast Company around working life in 2100. But that's because it's selling, and there's a lot of readers for that. And right now, today, I did a podcast on environmental trends towards 2050. But if you are building a hospital, or if you are putting a road that has to be there for the next 50 years, you have to have the long perspective. And in other areas, it's much more interested to look just 5 years from now or 10 years from now. So, so it really varies according to the area.
Yeah. I would like to help. I'd like to help.
At futurenavigator.com, I have I have under blogs, all the articles. I have a lot of video clips also around the brain reading. So you can read a lot more on our home page.
Yeah, so if you could share
futurenavigator.com.
Yeah, if you could maybe share the links as well on the event itself in 𝗏𝗏.
Okay.
Right, and then people can see it.
I mean, what I'd like to suggest is there are so many functionalities on 𝗏𝗏, and I sent you a private message, Lieselotte.
Okay.
I think one is also to use the functionality of a group that you can create and where you can focus on a certain topic or a certain range of topics. I think, and I know we had a few discussions before, that your company also offers things like the Trend Spotter app, etc. And I believe that especially for the purpose of people who come on 𝗏𝗏, these things can be a very good help. Because when we say what makes a good entrepreneur, then you see everybody says, oh yeah, find your purpose and find your vision, you know, and then go for it.
But is there a market? And
but when you look a little bit deeper, that is probably not the best way of building a business, because you have a lovely idea. And I begin to advise people not against, but to think twice before they make their passion to their business, because then their vision is clouded, and it might not become a real business that takes off. It might end in 2 or 3 or 5 years. So a friend of mine, he used the quote, the term disqualification process, and I think making it from an idea to a business is a disqualification process. Get an idea, and then think through it, and then find everything you can throw against it until it survives 5 years.
Creative destruction, yes. Creative
destruction, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think in that respect, and also when you look at the example of big inventions, and also other things, look at the stock market, you always have the people who can smell, and I like the way you phrase it, you know, you have to feel the change with all your senses. Yeah, you have to see, to hear it, to feel it, to smell it, to taste it. Yeah, and then when you see what all happens, you have always the people who smell the change early, and then they start something and they take a high risk, and they may fail because the trend is not taking off. But then you have the late followers, and they usually pay a high price. When you look at the people who invest in the stock market at the high, what they get are the crumbs, and they can lose a lot of money, even if they think I invest in a good product. Yeah, and I have my personal experience. I worked 14 years in Philips, and Philips had a great product in the 1980s, the Video 2000 technology, and it was, everybody says, the best video technology there ever was for classical video recorders, but they spent ages in bringing it to market, and VCR had taken off and had eaten up all the market. So I think your tools can help entrepreneurs, especially in the idea stage on 𝗏𝗏, to validate and disqualify.
Do we have a futurist group at 𝗏𝗏, or how does that work? Is there...
You're going to create it with
okay.
You started.
How many people are there on 𝗏𝗏 actually?
Yeah, around 5,000 at the moment.
Okay, that's not bad.
But I'm very international, as you see from this group here.
Yeah,
so I just wanted to say that, I mean, for me personally, I think we have a moral responsibility to help create our future. And I don't want to be a passenger. I want to actually be a leader. And I want to decide that which way do I want to go, and can I shape the future based on my principles and what I believe in. But anyway, we're going to run out of time. It's kind of time now. So,
but still, James, you can make better decisions by listening to the world at the same time. So it's a dual process, right?
Because
so
you need to.
It's like theory. You have to look at outside, and then you have to travel within you, and then you come out somewhere new.
Yeah, you make a decision based on information that you capture.
Exactly.
Right. And I mean, there's tons of things I'd love to talk to you about, and things that I do that are different as well.
Just reach out to me, and it has been really, really cool that you've been spending an hour with me this afternoon. Thank you very much for that.
So have you got any kind of, I mean, we'll get the links and stuff off you. We can sync up about creating the group. I mean, some questions to the group here are that, I mean, Edmund, you said yes. Pete, you said yes as well. I mean, if there's anyone here that wants to be part of that game, then Paul also.
Just so you won't be disappointed, this is an empathy game rather than a futurist game. But I think it's something we need to have in place before we can move to the future, right?
Maybe just a thumbs up, like if you say that yes, you want to, and then we know.
Great.
Everyone, I guess everybody on this call.
Thanks.
I mean, Dave has also said yes in the chat.
So, there's a cartoon thing.
Yeah, so where is it? Oh, it's under reactions. So I give you some claps as well. Yeah. Okay. Right. So it looks like you've got your audience now for the game. Maybe you need one other if it's not going to be including yourself. So we can help with the post and reaching out on 𝗏𝗏, so you'll easily find one other.
Great, thank you.
And you'll get that set up. Any closing remarks that you want to leave us with?
Have a bright and fantastic future.
They're nice.
Excellent. So you have been definitely an inspiration to us. Something that, it's been exciting. We could talk for hours. And I'm sure everybody's got dozens of more questions. So, we could create this future group in 𝗏𝗏, and then we would love to. I'm sure. I mean, speaking on behalf of all of us, we would love to continue these kind of conversations and bring others in that we believe would also benefit from that.
Great.
All right. So I thank you for being our 14th guest.
Thank you.
You will get a badge for this.
Ooh.
All right, so you get a badge for being a guest speaker. You can come on at a later date. We've got guest speakers now every week. So there's always a fascinating story that someone tells. So you'll automatically be invited to next week. You don't have to come if you're busy or whatever, but you'll always get the invitation. And then you'll get familiar with the people that are on, because we've all been on these quite a few times now. And it's a great insight into your business, and there's tons more things that we want to learn about you, but at least it's kind of easier to do it in this format, because now we can reach out, whereas when you post something, it's not the same as we don't know the person, so now we've got a feel for who you are and what you do. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to thank everyone for once again being loyal to this weekly show. And we're now opening it up. Now we restricted it to a limited number just to pilot it. So now it's open up to a wider audience. If you feel anyone else would benefit, then please do invite them or let me know, and I'll send the invite out to them. So thank you, everyone.
Oh, should I have asked these group chats? I have only seen it now, or that's it?
Oh no, the group chat. I kind of answered the question, so there's no divine.
Okay, so no, most governments do not take a long point view, and I completely agreed. Faith Popcorn, the whole cocooning thing is coming back, but with a new psychological digital layer.
Oh yeah, there's a good question actually from David. In your opinion, which governments take a long-term view?
I think New Zealand is going way. I'm so sad that this is not happening in the Nordic countries, but that is really a sustainable way of looking at citizens and businesses, and I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic investment. And she's so cool. I'm a fan.
Right, so if you just bear with me 1 second, because I'm just going to take a screenshot so I can remember who is on this call. Right, there we go. Right, and then I'll work with you about getting these people into the game and stuff. I mean, you have timelines for that, roughly?
Excuse me?
Have you got a timeline when you'd like to run the game?
No, I just, I hadn't thought about you guys till today. So maybe next Friday we could do it in combination with the featuring, and then I could go on afterwards. Or is that too long for people to be online? We'll see.
Or we'll do a separate event at a different time or something.
But sometimes it's good to hack people's habits so if they know they have to turn up. And then we could do a special session where they are the center, because it's fairly personal.
Well, let's start an event then, and then people can comment on there, and you say that these are the people that are going to participate and whatever. We'll get something going.
That's great.
So anyway, thanks everyone. Have a fantastic weekend. And remember, if you want to be a guest speaker and you haven't been one already, I mean, Edmund, I still want to hear your story. Paul also, and anyone, Leonore, got your name right?
Well, as you know, I'm a project finance, and project finance is very big and very, very, very boring. But I will make a very good attempt to make it interesting.
Right.
Okay, all right. Well, I won't keep you any longer. So thank you very much, everyone.
Okay.
Have a great
weekend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
Bye.
Alvin, would you give me a call? Can you send me your Skype details? Yeah, because, okay, send me your Skype details. Thanks. Okay, bye.
Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.